Hey, welcome back to Paragliding Banter. And today I'm very excited. On today's episode, we have a super athlete who, apart from other amazing things that she does, is a Red Bull X Alps contestant, a second-time qualifier at that, a pilot, an adventurer, life lover. She specializes in Volbev, multi-day hike and fly expeditions, the only woman in history to qualify more than once, uh, and also the New Zealand champion and a 2 times distance record holder. She flies in New Zealand, European Alps, and the Himalayas. Very happy to welcome Girl Gone Wild, Kinga Masztalerz. Welcome, Kinga, to Paragliding Banter.
Hello, Sahid. Hello to all fellow pilots. Great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. So first of all, congratulations on the Red Bull X Alps. It's very exciting for all of us. We follow it very interestingly, and it's something of privilege to be able to speak to an athlete who is qualified. And I believe your training is going on in full swing.
Yes, it is. Red Bull X Alps is approaching quickly.
Right.
And I'm extremely excited to be able to do it again. The first time when I qualified for the first time, I didn't have much competition experience. I was mostly hike and fly and bivouac, and actually relatively young pilot because I didn't even fly for 5 years when I qualified for the first time. So to be honest, I wasn't ready. But at the same time, can you ever be ready for the first time for such an adventure? You have to try, and like with many other things, not only in paragliding but also in life, you have to commit and try and dare to do it, and learn on the way. And obviously, this first Red Bull X Alps was a very steep learning curve, flying and competing with some of the best athletes and pilots, mountain pilots in the world, and being able to learn from them and experience all the adventures on the way. That was absolutely fantastic experience. So I was really excited to qualify again. And as a more experienced pilot, more mature pilot and human, hopefully, and hopefully I'm able to use this experience from 2019 and from all the other flying and adventures that happened since then, and do better and do well and enjoy the ride and learn some new stuff. So yes, we are preparing right now. I'm obviously training hard, and it's for the first time when I qualified for the first time, I was mostly concerned about my flying experience, because as I said, I was a relatively new pilot. I mean, I still am, if you compare it to some of the legends participating there for decade or even longer in Red Bull X Alps, some of the one of the best professional pilots out there who's been doing that for years and years. But for the first time in 2019, I was mostly focused on my or maybe afraid of that my paragliding level wasn't good enough, and that physically I wouldn't be able to keep up with the guys there who are just like machines. They just they start running in the morning, they never stop, and they just keep going for 12 days straight. And so I put a lot of energy into this physical preparation. I was training really like a mad woman, and at the end, during Red Bull X Alps, or maybe after, because during the Red Bull X Alps, it's so intense that you can't really process everything what's happening. It takes weeks or sometimes even months to actually understand the experience and lessons that come from it. But one of the things that I really understood after my first Red Bull X Alps was that I didn't quite put my energy in the right places. Obviously, it's really important to be well prepared physically. It's really important to be very well focused on your flying and try to prepare as much as you can and this one went this two parts actually that I was so concerned about, they went really well. I physically I did really well, and I was flying really well. For obviously,
Awesome.
I'm not Kriegel and I'm not, you know, Maxim who was like super ultra marathoner, but for what I expected from myself, I would say that once I was moving efficiently, and once I was flying, I was in the air, I was making good decisions. But there was so many other aspects of Red Bull X-Ups that I didn't understand and didn't appreciate as a rookie. And one of the very big ones was proper teamwork and proper briefing of my team, and proper choice of team members who will cooperate, not only who are my friends or who I find as they can be helpful, but also they work together and under pressure. And there are all the aspects that when you come from you know, my DNA, my paragliding DNA is really in the wild adventures in the mountains, when I have my camping gear with me and just like slowly cruising through the mountains completely alone, without good weather forecast, without anyone around. And I still love it. This is absolutely I mean, Volbivac, it's really deep in my heart. But obviously Red Bull X-Ups is a very different dynamic, very different pace, very different support level, and so much is dependent on your team. And of
also,
course
it was
it's not,
not an easy one, right?
Sorry?
2019 wasn't an easy one. It was stable conditions, a lot of rain and thunder.
I can't even say Red Bull X-Up can ever be easy.
No, I mean the conditions. I didn't say it's.
The weather wasn't too
bad
until maybe last 3 days when it got very hot, and that's true. It got very stable and very hot. But I would say, you know, these are the Alps, so I wouldn't say that conditions are ever easy. 2017 was also brutal when it came to the weather. 2015 had a better weather, but also it was windy. So when you were flying fast, but also it was potentially dangerous. Red Bull X-Ups always bring some real serious challenges when it comes to conditions, and especially that it's almost 2 weeks in the Alps, and it just never happens that the weather is perfect for 2 weeks in the Alps.
And this time it's changed. This time it's going to go back to Austria and go through all the ranges again. So yes, this is a big difference to any other Red Bull X-Ups. I have really mixed feelings about it, because Red Bull X-Ups, X-Alps, crossing the Alps from east all the way to Mediterranean. This is the DNA and roots of Red Bull X-Alps. And yes, that's true that sometimes basically when we are moving from east to west or southwest, we are constantly going headwind, because prevalent winds in Europe are coming from the west, and so it's never easy. So in some ways, it's tempting to say, okay, like after Mont Blanc, we are just turning back and going back to Italy. Yeah, but it's a little bit so symbolically it's a little bit different than crossing the whole Alps, starting, and even when you explain it to someone who doesn't fly or to general public, you start in Salzburg, way in Austria, and then crossing over some really rough terrain, glaciers and the main ridge of the Alps, all the way through few different country borders, all the way to Monaco, to Mediterranean. This is something, you know, epic. If you try to explain the same thing, and the start is in Salzburg and the end is in Zell am See, it doesn't sound so epic anymore, even if it is in the way that when we understand what's really happening out there, we understand that it is a very demanding and long and technical route. So I have mixed feelings about it, but there's nothing we can do about it at this point. It's already announced and done. With any other thing that you faced, it's always the challenge involved if you get the same thing and you get things thrown at you which you are not prepared for. So I think you're you will face these challenges very well.
Yes.
And yeah,
I mentioned then that in some ways I wasn't prepared for my first Red Bull X Alps because I was
right,
coming from the mountains alone.
right,
But at the same time, Volt Bivak and hike and fly adventures in some wild mountains is very often solo, also prepare you to this constant improvisation and making
right,
decisions in the way that you would never approach flying terrain, weather conditions, and your paraglider as a tool for movement across the terrain. You would never approach this aspect of flying in this way just if you only fly cross country on good days
right,
in Red Bull X Alps, during Red Bull X Alps, but also during Vol Bivak. Sometimes you fly from places that are
yeah,
far from being perfect, in conditions that are far from being perfect. I think I've never taken taken off with the backwind so many times as during 12 days of Red Bull X Alps. There's like every after
oh
takeoff
man.
with backwind. I landed flying backwards twice. I
Wow.
took off with backwind quite a few times. So there were like all this crazy
Yeah,
moments that you wouldn't
yeah.
do
And that
on
too with
your
performance
normal.
gliders, high-end gliders, which you need to be
Yes,
really
you
careful with. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
but also Red Bull X-Alps wings are generally, they are not exactly the same as
right,
high-end competition wings. They are
right,
made for this adventure. So with
right.
the proper obviously proper piloting skills, they are great machines. And this modern,
Awesome.
it's very exciting to see where what at every edition, what
Right,
progress the
right,
manufacturers and
right.
paragliding material does, how light and
Yeah.
performant and easy to pack and easy to manage. They just
I'm sure
it's
it
really, I have impression
blows.
that Red Bull
Yeah,
X helps a great engine to push the
right.
progress of our lightweight.
State of the art. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
really
I'm
state of the
sure
art.
for the general public, it blows their mind to know that we have an aircraft which does not use any fuel, works on wind, and we're able to cross countries just like you're flying in an aircraft. It's just mind blowing. What a beautiful sport we are in.
I mean, it still blows my mind. This is how I fell in love with paragliding for the first time. The
Right.
idea that you can have a backpack with a basically piece of
Your
cloth
aircraft. Yeah.
with some lines in it,
Yeah.
and you can hike a hill and put it on the grass and just launch it and
Yeah.
fly dozens or maybe hundreds of kilometers with it. It's pure magic. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
It's amazing that you say grass because here in India, most of our takeoffs are there's not much of grass because of the heat, and
Yeah,
most of our the complaints that we usually have is our wings always turn dusty and red
yeah,
color of the mud, and
yeah.
our wings always look more older and dusty when compared to the videos that we see people on grassy
Yeah. But
launches and
don't worry,
stuff. So
my
yeah.
wings also don't look crispy and clean for a long time. Yeah, I give them
No,
a few
yeah,
weeks
just
and then they turn to be
yeah.
to
So we're really jealous of grassy launches and stuff. But hey, listen, I heard something. I heard that this time there might be a change or a postponement of Red Bull X Alps to probably July or maybe next year. Is that true?
Uh, yes, we don't really know at this point exactly what's going to happen. We need to understand that for organizers, it's
Right,
extremely difficult to actually make
right,
this event happen this year. Most of paragliding and not only most of big sports events were postponed or cancelled. So Red Bull X organizers are doing everything they can to make it happen. But again, because Red Bull X Alps is so big and we cross borders between the countries quite a few times, and it's not only us as athletes, but also our support team that have to drive from
right.
country to country in current COVID situation with constantly changing restrictions. It's extremely difficult for organizers to really plan this event. So they're doing a great job trying to make it happen this year. But yes, there is an open it's still an open book that it may be postponed or it may be postponed even until next year. for us, obviously, it's also difficult to plan because of it. Yes, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's a difficult year, obviously. Last year we thought, oh, luckily the Red Bull X Ups, it's not in 2020, it's every odd year. So we'll be good until 2021. And it doesn't seem like it's, we're still not so good.
It's a fluid situation everywhere in the world. And it's the same thing here in India. We thought we were recovering, and now suddenly we have got a second wave coming in. So that's that. But let's just say this, in case it gets postponed, then we get a chance to see you in Beer.
Oh, I hope it will happen.
Awesome.
I hope the beer will happen no matter when X-Ups will be postponed.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Beer is a highlight of my paragliding year every year, and I was really gutted and then last year we couldn't come. And I really hope that this year it will be possible. But again, planning anything in this reality,
it's pretty fluid.
If someone told me a year or 2 years ago that this would be the case, I'll be, what are you talking about? I have my perfect planning of, because for last 5 years until 2020, this is how I was planning my year, to spend the summer here in New Zealand, and then right now, around the end of April or in May, I'm moving to Europe, where I have my old van, and I'm cruising with this van, following the weather in the Alps. And then when the season is coming to its end, it's time for beer, obviously, the best and most beautiful Himalayan flying. I'm not saying it because you mentioned it. It's just such a wonderful place to be, and especially in October or November, when anywhere else, like, there's no better place to be, literally. If you're a mountain pilot, there's literally nowhere that the season would be on. While in beer you go, and in a month you might get more. It happened to me to get more flying in a month in beer than whole season in New Zealand, because New Zealand has such a complicated weather system that sometimes it really depends on El Nino, and it depends on like really wind factors and so many aspects. While you go to beer and you basically always get some good flying.
So this time, last October 2020, we were only Indian pilots, because the travel was not possible for others, and it was slightly emptier, I would say, but we had a fantastic time. It just happened that the lockdown got over and we were able to travel, and it was still restricted, but it was a lot of fun. In fact, right now there are a few of my friends in beach flying. It's raining. It's not such a great weather situation at the moment, but there are days like just now, right now, they've left for the takeoff. So I keep following them, because I was unable to go to beach this time. But yeah, I understand it's something that we all look forward to. So I wanted to ask you a question. First of all, we wish you all the best for Red Bull X Alps, and I hope that it stays on its schedule. And if it doesn't, if it gets postponed, we wish you all the best, and we would love to follow your progress.
Thank you.
And what I would like to ask you is something of immense interest in not only the Indian paragliding community, but I think everywhere, is about beer and about the back mountain flying. We all know that the front range is where everyone likes to fly, because that's the easier part. But once you get used to that, and once people can do the Dharamshala and back, and to the train station, and do the 120 kilometers, 130 kilometers, and then from the air you see the back mountains. Like for myself, I've never been to the back mountain, but you see from the air, and it's like amazing. It's just immense, and much bigger than the front ridge, and want to go there, but there is always you're scared a little bit. You're not sure whether you're going to make it, or even back mountains means even going to Manali and coming back next day by road or whatever. But just entering back mountains is something that is a barrier. Can you tell us a little bit about back mountains, and what is your take on this, and how do you plan things, and your experience about back mountains and beer? you just go and fly and stay, and that's just amazing. It blows my mind. So first of all, I really look up to your skills on this, and please tell us something about it.
That's a very good question, and a question that actually many pilots ask and wonder when, just trying to figure out when is a good time and when am I really ready as a pilot to go to the back?
Right.
Because I guess this is the main question. I would like to, but I'm a little bit afraid. I'm not sure. And this is this ever, on the one hand, obviously we want to stay safe and careful, but on the other, if we want to progress as pilots, we need to time make these decisions that we are not sure about their outcome or about what will come out of it. And I would say that if you've been flying for a while, and if you got to the point where this mystical back is calling you, and you just think about it in the evenings in bed when you can't sleep, and just think about how we would like to go there. It's probably time to go.
Okay.
At the same time, we need to be very realistic about it and take baby steps. It means that if you've never done it, then it would make absolutely perfect sense to think about going it only when you are really high in the front, when you have heaps of altitude, and when you see quite a few pilots doing it.
Okay.
Not pushing it for next day, deciding, oh yes, tomorrow is the day, and then you go without really thinking much. Because if there's in a beer during the season, there's so many pilots, even if foreigners can't come, there's still so many pilots who are probably more experienced than you. And if they are all just cruising in front and somehow no one is going to the back, it usually means that they know something that you don't know. It happened to me actually to go to the back at one. It was my second year in beer. I was still relatively inexperienced pilot, and my first year in beer was a particularly good season, and we're flying at the back every day, super high with epic weather, no overbuilding, not much wind. It was just perfect. And because it was my first time in beer, I kind of imagined that it's like this every time, but apparently it was a season of the decade, and it never happened before or after. So I came to beer, and basically on my first flight, I was like, oh yeah, of course we are going to the back, because what else? So I still had a little bit of jet lag. I was a little bit tired after quite a long journey from first to Delhi, and then from Delhi to beer, and went to the back without waiting for anyone to go. Just, oh yeah, of course, I've done it so many times last year, so I will just do it. And I wasn't super fresh. It was my first time there, but still. And it was just way more windy than I would anticipate it. I got a huge collapse close to the rock face, and went into auto rotation, saved it really low, way lower above the rocks that I would prefer, that I would be comfortable with. And then quickly realized that maybe if no one was going, there was a reason for it. And maybe I should just keep it easy. And even if it's not my very first time, still, these mountains at the back just demand respect. And if you don't give it to them, they will just take it from you.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would suggest that so imagine that I'm a pilot that has never done it before, and I've been flying for a while in the front. I'm well used to already to fly and to the conditions, to the air, to being in the air for a while, and I'm quite happy with my thermaling. This is also quite important aspect. If I'm a pilot who still struggles coring a thermal or finding a thermal when others are thermaling easily, it means that maybe I'm not quite ready, because in the front, if you have still problems thermaling, it just simply means that you may land in front and just take a taxi home. But in the back, it may be a little bit more complicated. So I would say that you need to be quite an efficient thermal pilot just to think about going to the back. But of course, it's not all that you need to be just to be able to core thermal. You need to be very observant, because when we fly in the front, we are used to particular conditions and particular particular characteristics of the air. And even after crossing over Barot, crossing to the first ridge to the back, this air really changes. You can feel like how all the moisture coming from the from the plains, from the flatlands, stays mostly on the front ridge, and at the back it's immediately colder and very often rougher. And very often more windy. Very often the wind and the altitude may be very different, because you are coming from, let's say, 3,000 meters to, let's say, 5,000 meters. It's a massive difference on a very short period, and there's a lot happening there, in a sense of different air. So just be ready. Don't be scared of it. It's normal, but be ready. Again, before going, check if you are happy with your thermal skins. If you are feeling all right at the 3,000 meters, that you should at least have before crossing. We would like to have more.
Yes.
Be patient. Every last turn, every 50 meters that you can squeeze out, it's really useful before your first crossing to the back. Wait for other pilots to do it, preferably wait for them to do it and see where they're going, see if they're climbing on the other side. You don't want to wait too long, obviously, but you don't want to be first pilot jumping on your head, crossing to the back. Be patient with your altitude, squeeze every meter, and before committing to go to the back, really do this little checkup with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I feeling committed? Am I feeling healthy and good? I'm hydrated. There's nothing bothering me. If you feel good, if it feels good, I like to say that we can get away with a lot of things if it feels right. And I think it's very important. We should constantly check it with us. If it doesn't feel right, usually there's a reason for it. Sometimes we don't have maybe enough experience to name this aspect, or maybe we don't quite understand in the once it's happening what exactly isn't right. But if it just doesn't feel right, just don't do it. There are other days. Even
just
if
a gut feeling. If you just feel
yes,
that
just a gut feeling. If your friends are going, if other people went, if it looks all good, but you are just feeling, I don't feel it today, just don't do it. As simple as that. Stay connected to yourself.
Right.
If it feels right, everything checked on your list, go to the back, following probably some other pilots. This is probably the best and easiest way to first time go to the back. If you are thermaling and this nice, you're in the cloud base in the front still with other pilots, and they decide, okay, it's time to go, do this extra 2 circles, squeeze extra 15 meters and follow. Following other pilots, it's usually good idea for this first crossing. And I would like to also say that I mentioned that do baby steps, because the fact that you're going to the back doesn't mean that you have to take all the dip line to Manali on your first day. It may simply mean that you will cross over Barot, climb, do a cloud base, maybe do another thermal. If it feels really good, you may climb, you may cruise a little bit over the peaks out there, and you may come out. And it's as simple as that. And it may be a very beautiful first experience of flying to the back. And the next time, if you understand how was it, I would say that enjoy this moment of your first experience at the back. If it doesn't work, also, you will land in Barot, basically.
Exactly.
And it's not so wild there. It's not, there's still a road and you can still go back home for dinner, really. It's a long way because we have to go quite a bit around the ridge, but it's not so so wild and so committing. What's important to understand is that once you do your first step, then you can have a look and contest or talk to your friends, fellow pilots. What did they do during these days? Maybe pilots who you did this first jump over Barot and crossed with, what did they do? What decisions they made, and how did it work for them on this particular day? You talk to them, you look at their track logs, and you have a better picture about what was possible during the day. And if your decisions were right, maybe you could have done something better. Maybe this thermal just next to yours was better than the one that you took. And you also have a better idea which pilots in the future are maybe worth following, because some of them, if you follow strangers, sometimes it's a bit tricky, because sometimes you follow them, they follow you, and you both land because no one knows what's happening there. Or sometimes you're following someone who may be extremely experienced pilot, and he will just run away before you even get to this thermal that you hope that you can core together, because he's already in the cloud base and gone. Sometimes you may follow a pilot, you think, oh, you're all going for a little stroll, but he's or she's going for 3 days bivouac, and then it's something that you wouldn't like to commit to. So also to understand who to follow and who not to follow, it's also quite a good stuff.
We usually fly with buddies over here. At least we do, and we make sure that we make a plan. And if somebody's going back, and if somebody's not ready from the group, so they stay in front, and then we go back. So there's always someone flying with us. So it makes sense. And I think I really like what you said. Even if a crossover to Bharat Valley, the one behind, that's a back mountain experience anyways, and 3,000 plus is good enough to do that experience. That come out, worst comes to worst scenario, you land in Bharat, which is easy, and you can come back home, like you rightly said. And that gives like a proper plan to start off with and experience the back mountains for the first time.
And every time we go to the back, we need to, but actually every time we go flying, we need to just stay focused and take responsibility for our decisions, because the fact that every year there are pilots missing at the back, and pilots getting hurt or missing simply just, and then there are some of them even never found. That just shows how serious these mountains are. So we really need to treat them with respect. We shouldn't be afraid of them, but we should treat them with the respect they deserve. So if the conditions are, if we are not feeling it, and if the conditions are a bit too rough for us, there are other days for doing it. Especially that if something happens, even one ridge behind. I mean, there were pilots missing for days at the back of Big Face, which feels, when you fly, it's so close. It's just here. But if you crash on a tree, that may take really days before someone can get to you.
That's right. It looks very close, but it's very difficult.
It looks very close, but there are big mountains, and the more we go to the back, the bigger they are. So so just to be respectful toward them.
On this, since you've touched this topic, I want to ask you, what should be the preparation every pilot has if they're attempting a back mountain? Not even attempting back mountain, I would say, just to fly in Bir. What do you prepare for? Do you carry any emergency equipment anytime, all the time, or what do you carry with yourself? Tracker for sure.
Tracker, obviously. Yes. I obviously fly. I fly with Garmin InReach, and it's not only for emergencies, but also because I often fly in such a way that I'm not sure if I'm coming back for the night. So it's just to stay in touch with at least someone who knows that if you just did you go missing, or you are just enjoying your little adventure in the mountains. So this is why I use the tracker like InReach that lets you send messages, and not only I need help or but also tells others
so two-way communication on board,
what you are up to. Yes, two-way communication. Because this is another aspect. It's super important that there's someone, as you said, you've always tried to fly with the buddy, but it's not only about flying with someone, it's also about having someone there who will notice if you are missing.
That's
or
right.
or knows that no, she didn't go missing, she's just happily enjoying the mountains on her own, and everything is good. It's just it's not only our safety, it's also the just simple respect to the rest of community, that
That's right.
because there were also cases that people were like organizing some search parties, and some guy was just hanging out in the mountains with shepherds, like happily cruising around, and here people were just completely going mad and organizing fundraising for helicopters, because everybody was sure that he's dead, and he was just happily just hanging out with shepherds at the back. So so it's also about respect toward the community, and also so all these resources may go into something really happens, then the community can respond accordingly.
And you carry food, some dry food, just in case you land.
Basically, when I fly in beer, I fly with everything.
Right.
Yeah, so I have at least 3 liters of water, and I have food for a couple of days. I have a cooker. I'm not extremely serious about amount of food, but for sure I want to have water. And cooker, because when you go to the back, and if you sleep somewhere at the back, the more you go to the back, the more the higher you get, and then the colder it gets. So definitely it's extremely helpful to even just make a hot cup of tea. It makes really a world of difference. And because you are flying on high altitude, this is probably something that when you do it for the first time, you are not quite in touch with it yet. But this is why I keep saying, just check if it's okay. How are you feeling? Because the more you go to the back, the higher you climb. You maybe started the day at 1,000 meters, and after a couple of hours, you are almost 6,000 meters. Let's say it's a massive difference for the body, and it's very easy to get a little bit dizzy or euphoric or super tired. But however you react to it, just stay in touch with it. If you are just feeling too excited about it, maybe it's not just beautiful views, but maybe also you are just lacking a little bit of oxygen. But what happens always basically is that you're just really cold, and you really feel this altitude also, not only that it's cold at the altitude, but also because there's less oxygen, the blood isn't circulating in the same way. And so whatever you can do for to keep yourself warm, it will work. So a lot of warm clothes, and I always take some type of shelter. So usually a tent, simply a small basic but tent. When I go, I would say that Himalayas and Bil is probably the only place where I always have a tent. Usually I try to save some weight and use tarp, but in lower mountains, but in Bil it's just so cold that it's just worth it. So obviously it all means that I have quite a bit of weight with me. On top of my normal paragliding gear. So there's a few aspects of it when you think about packing for an adventure and spending a night. I really encourage everyone who is flying to the back to just take some extra stuff, which will help you, even if you're not planning to spend the night at the back, which will just make, if it happens. So it's more about having this mindset that I can, if I'm about to land out and spend the night in the mountains, there's not the end of the world. I'm ready for it. I'm mentally ready, and it's all okay. And it also takes this it helps us focus on actual flying, not so much about the constantly thinking at the back of your head, or what if I don't, or what if I land here, oh my God, that's like so far away from home, or what if, like, how am I gonna come back? But it's more lets us focus on actually choosing a good line. And because of it, from my experience, when I fly like this, usually I don't have to land out, but I can get wherever I wanted to get, because unless this is my goal, that I want to spend the night in the mountains. But if the whole idea is that I want to get out, usually if you're really focused on your flying, not on the fact how you're going to go back to your car or whatever,
Right.
then you fly just better, and there's a bigger chance that you will actually make it back.
Yeah, that's really important, because if you can take away that pressure of what if, and you're prepared for that what if, then you just concentrate on flying, and that's what's really important, because then you can at least come back.
Yeah. So
you
I would say
concentrate.
that even if you know, as a paragliding pilots, we slightly demonize the idea of landing out and having to hike or having to spend an even night out.
Right.
We sometimes approach it like it's something completely unacceptable, but at
Right.
the end it's not. Even if
Right.
if you don't have all your Volbiva gear and food for a week, you probably have this power bar or sneakers stuck into your harness for last month or 2 years, and you probably have, you know, you have your paraglider with you, which you can wrap yourself
Wrap
in
around. Yeah.
as many times as you want. You have quite a bit of clothes, so the most important is just to have water and
That's right.
stay vigilant. And even if it happens that you have to spend the night or walk out from somewhere to the nearest road, just we shouldn't demonize it. I always
Right.
think that as long as you are safely on the ground, that's all good. What we should really focus on, if our flying, if we are flying in the conditions that are good for our skill level, for our paraglider, for our skill level, and for general for flying a paraglider, and just to make good decisions in the air and land safely. And if it means that I land in a place that maybe will take me a while to get out, I always like to think that this is just an adventure, and I never regret this walkouts and adventures
Right.
like this. It's always at the end it's just a story to tell your friends.
Yeah.
As long as no one gets hurt, your paraglider is okay, you're just happily landed, doesn't really matter. You just have an adventure to say. And I really encourage everybody to approach it like this. If this is what's stopping you, just to be clear here, if this is what's stopping you from going to the back, that you are afraid that you will have to maybe walk out, or maybe you will have to take a taxi from Barot and go all the way around, that's not a reason not to go. This is not a reason. This is just being lazy. Let's be honest. If the only reason, just like that there are valid reasons not to go, like maybe your skill level is just not there yet, you are not comfortable thermaling in rough air, or maybe you just these are good reasons not to go. And obviously if the conditions are not good, if you understand that they're not good, that's like, and so again, I encourage everybody to fly at the back. We just have to approach it with the respect it deserves. And I think a lot of incidents in beer every year happen because people simply don't respect these mountains enough. And it's not because someone is making a decision to go to the back. If it's like it's more that we like to fly it like it's your local hill somewhere in the on the hills. And we should just simply treat it as it is. They are just big mountains and big peaks and just something massive mountains.
And you automatically get respect the moment you come close to them. Like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. And the hills that you fly regularly at, they seem so tiny. And it's just an instant respect.
And it never ends. I mean, last time in 2019, we were in Beer with my friend who went, we followed, like went northeast from Manali, and at some point hit this, the mountains are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point I was like, whoa, that's really rough. You think like at the beginning, you think crossing Barot is big. Then you think crossing Manali Valley is big. It's a long crossing. You keep going. Okay, then you're over 6,000 meters peak. And then it's like going deeper and deeper, and it's never ending. And you think, oh yeah, now I'm serious mountains, but then there are just higher and bigger mountains. It's Himalayas for you. So just let's treat it with the respect they deserve. And I think we'll be all good if we do.
Perfect. I like the way you put it. It sounds very motivating also, just to make sure that as long as you have your things covered and you're able to respect what you're doing, fly with your buddies, you should give it a shot, and not because you're lazy to take a cab from Barot Valley, but really if you are interested, and get your thermaling. If your thermaling is in the right order and you know that you can manage rough air, then you should be ready to go back. Yeah.
All this being said, I really encourage everybody to have some type of tracker and actually know how to use it and have all these numbers updated. There have been so many incidents of pilots missing, and he had a spot, but no one knew where the link was, how to use it. He didn't turn it on. He didn't have it, didn't pay subscription or whatever else. Just have it sorted, and just do it. Like there's
currently I am the guy who's getting the tracker information of 3 guys. 2 of them are in Beer. So that's how we do in a community. And in fact, we just had a meeting in Beer of the local pilots who have spoken to the younger guys who have just come in and joined Beer, maybe a year or 2 years older, to fly with trackers and make the community a safe place. So we get that. Well, that was awesome. Kinga, I just also want to plug in over here that you do conduct wall beef classes and back mountain flying. Would you be doing that in Beer anytime soon if people are interested in joining you?
I would love to do it, and I have it planned nicely, and really want to do it this year. There are some details on my website if you would like to link it, but the whole idea is just to organize the course, which we can describe as a introduction to Volbivac, and as far as we can come to Beer this year, I would love it to happen.
Awesome. So I'm going to mention your website address on all the social media that I will do with this episode, and listeners can go there and check more information out. And also, like we spoke, Volbiv with you is going to be another discussion altogether, which will take a whole episode because there's a lot of interest from our pilot community over here. So maybe whenever you have the time next, when we plug in another episode with Volbiv. So for the listeners, look forward to that, and I myself look forward to that discussion with Kinga.
Sure, with pleasure. I love talking about Volbivac. I love teaching how to start Volbiving, both in little groups and individually, and just and I like talking. So always happy to share some knowledge.
Awesome. So listeners can get in touch with you on your website, right? And leave a message for you, and you can connect with them. Awesome.
Through my website, or it's probably the easiest way because it sends me an email, and then we can discuss whatever question the fellow pilots may have.
So I'm going to forward this to all my WhatsApp groups so that we send this episode to, and also on Facebook and Insta. We'll be doing that soon. All right. So this has been very interesting, and now I'm thinking of back mountains, at least to the Barot Valley to start off with. But there's something that, like you rightly said, you need to be ready. You need to be ready to fly. You need to be ready to know your thermaling skills, get things set together. But there's something that happened to you. I've heard when you started flying. There was some incident that made you get into to paragliding. That would be something that we'd like to hear.
I started paragliding. How I started paragliding. I used to be a very keen rock climber, and I kind of knew that that paragliding existed. I remember seeing it somewhere in the mountains or over in Italy when I went for a climbing trip. I saw these people paragliding from the top of the mountain. I thought, oh, that looks actually quite cool. But I kind of imagined that they're only flying, like many people nowadays, imagine that they only fly top to bottom, just slowly falling. And I thought that would be a cool thing to do. But maybe when I'm retired, because when I can't climb anymore, why would I bother now if I can climb the mountains, the rock climbing, and then a few things like a universe responded, and a few things happened at the same time I hurt my elbow to the point that couldn't climb for long months. I already bought tickets just literally a few days before hurting my elbow. I bought tickets for a really long trip to Thailand for rock climbing, where I was training so hard, and I was supposed to send the best, my personal best in rock climbing ever. And so I had this broken elbow and this tickets that I really couldn't use. And then my boyfriend that I was like deeply in love with broke my heart, and everything just crashed on me, and I got stuck in the city where I lived back then without with like pile of bills and job that I was rather frustrated with at this point, and broken heart and broken elbow and not much will to to live at this point. And then I just thought that maybe this is this moment for the sport that was supposed to be for my retirement, but didn't. But because there were so many other fascinating things to do before. When I'm into something, I'm quite fully immersed into it. So my rock climbing wasn't only about my love for climbing, that was all my friends and my former at this point boyfriend and my free time and holiday plans, obviously, and all the gear around and all the I was very serious about my diet and microcycles and training wrapped around my daily life. And when all this was taken away, it really felt like there's not much left at this point. And I went for paragliding course just to kill the time, basically, just to do something that would take my mind away from all the struggle around it, and especially my broken heart wasn't really healing as fast as my elbow was. This is what usually happens. The body will heal, but the broken heart takes a moment. And from the very first moment, on the paragliding courses, before you sign off, you do the first little flights that are not even flights. They're not even like, you don't fly anywhere, just basically hop off the like little hill. And then, as we said at the beginning, the whole idea that you can have this backpack with a piece of cloth and just put it on the hill and fly with it just completely blew my mind. And after a while, my elbow healed and my heart's not so much, but at least my elbow healed. And I thought, once it heals, I will go back to climbing. But from this very first moment, when I took my butt off the air on a paraglider, I got so completely hooked that I never touched the rock again.
Wow.
I just completely left climbing behind, and other sports, into ski touring and some mountaineering, other things, but all this completely disappeared, and I completely jumped into flying. I left this job and left this broken story, love story behind, and left this big city life and moved to Semonza and Bassano del Grappa, because that was a place where you could have a lot of easy airtime. It's like a smaller beer with a very smaller edge. I don't know if you heard about it, if you've ever been there, but this is like flatlands and ridge, just way like 3 times lower than beer and in Himalayas. But again, there's the first ridge, and then you have Alps behind. So. And from there, I've been chasing it hard since then, and never really looked back. And found another love, not only for paragliding, but also found a fellow pilots. It's just like I fell in love, and I like to say that paragliding really in some way saved my soul.
Awesome! What a story!
And completely changed my life. And it took me from this city in Poland and from Warsaw, from capital of Poland, living in Italian country, and then in the French Alps, and then at the end took me to New Zealand, where I've been flying and traveling and sharing this passion with others. So nothing better at the end. I think the conclusion of it is nothing better than this broken elbow might have ever happened to me. You know, sometimes sometimes we think that something is a problem. Sometimes we think something is a failure, or that's a bad thing that happened to us, like something didn't go as planned, and it may be the best thing that actually
that's actually an opening a door for us, and we don't really realize it. And
at this point, it's very difficult to see because we have particular image of our life, of ourselves, of our future, of our plans and dreams, and we just don't want to adjust them. This is what I want from life. Exactly. And once we just accept the change, and then instead of focusing on what we can't have, we may really discover what we can have, and it may be way better. And
wow, that's really nice. Yeah, that's a really nice thing. Like you said initially in the start of the podcast, that you put it out to the universe. So I too believe in the power of universe, and that you should go with the flow. Like if your elbow was broken and it took you to a whole new world, which look, today you're a qualifier for the Red Bull X Alps for the second time and doing so well, and here you are on podcast and motivating and influencing so many people, and with all the good things that you do.
I guess it's also a good time to talk about it, because of the COVID and how the world has changed within last year and a half, let's say, or 2 years. It's really so many plans that we had, so many dreams. I had so many plans for my flying expeditions and trips and teaching and this and that, and they all had to be put on hold, and we all have our plans and our careers, and just it's so easy to get depressed about the fact that there's so many things that we can't have right now, and maybe these are just maybe they're just little bumps, and we should keep pursuing what we planned for. But maybe also it's just, again, universe is just telling us to open another door and look what's behind.
That's so beautifully put. That's so beautifully put. And thank you so much. And once we get into paragliding, this beautiful sport, we slowly realize that the only friends we have are people who are flying, because we slowly get so caught up into it, and it's so beautiful and so much to learn from. And then every day it's a new experience and every day new place to fly, and it's really, really nice. So yeah, thank you very much, Kinga. It was a pleasure talking to you. Just for our listeners, please go check out her website. I'll be putting this up at all the social media. And also, there is, if you guys want to contribute to Kinga's 2021 X Alps campaign, there's a donation page. The link, again, I will be setting up and sending across on all WhatsApp groups and Instagram and Facebook. It'll be really nice if you can contribute and support Kinga on her quest to X Alps. As a little incentive, she's also giving away a cool customized iClip wallet, and I'll put up some pictures of that too. So Kinga, all the best. I really look forward to you participating in X Alps and seeing you there, and then we'll say, like, I spoke to her. That's the athlete, and it's been extremely entertaining and motivating and fun chat with you, and really, really thank you so much for being on the podcast. We hope to do a Volbiv with you soon whenever you have the time. And so I also want to thank our common friend Anand Srinivasan, who helped me get in touch with you, and so thank you, Anand. And
thank you, Anand. We're just like waving to Anand. Anand's a good friend. He lives in Auckland, close to me. We regularly meet on a paragliding hill.
So he heard the podcast. I don't know Anand, and he wrote back to me and he said, listen, I've been flying from India where we fly, and he said I was the first one, and all the story. It was very nice to connect, and so this podcast has really opened up a lot of opportunities also for people to share, and that's what we do. This is a non-commercial thing. We just want to share knowledge with the community and bring the community together. So thank you again. Thank you very much. I thank all the listeners, and if there's any feedback that you would want to give, you can send me a message on email sajid@gmail.com. And
I will just say, if you have any questions or if you think about something that would be good to share, you can also get in touch with me. And I'm always very happy to hear from fellow pilots from all around the globe. Just even if you just want to say hello, just get in touch.
And I'll share. I'll be tagging Kinga on all the posts. So, and you can also go check her website, which I'll be putting up over there. So thank you very much. And
thank you, Zahid. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure.
And we'll talk again, focusing on Volbivac. Yeah,
thank you.
That's the deal. Great.
So thank you very much. And listeners, we'll see you again on another podcast. And thank you very much again. Bye-bye.